Live from the Hollywood Improv, it's the Nighttime Show! With us as always, our head writer, Matt Walker. I'm the voice of the Nighttime Show, Mike Black. Our very special guest today, star of the Drew Carey Show. He played Colin in Colin and Brad. And he's been in over 405 episodes of Whose Line Is It Anyway? Colin Mochrie! And now, a man who yes-ands pretty much everything. Put your hands together at home for Stephen Kramer Glickman!
Yes, and... Wow. Colin, thank you so much for being here with us, man.
Thank you. You just picked up my energy by 100%.
Great.
Mike Black's got great energy. He is the best announcer in the biz.
The secret is pharmaceutical-grade cocaine.
Oh, wow.
Oh, sweet.
America's choice.
What's the cocaine like in Canada? Is it... That's where I was.
It's 35% stronger.
Wow.
And much more polite.
Yes.
Much more polite.
Yes.
And provided by the government for free.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the best system in that.
I know we talked about this a little off air, but is that where you are now? Are you in Canada right now?
I am. I'm in Toronto right now. Keeping distant from everyone.
Smart.
Going very well.
Yeah.
I gotta believe that as a performer and someone who works with a lot of other people, a lot of funny people. This is a kind of a tricky, gotta be a little bit of a tricky time for you. Has it been? What's it been like for you?
Well, you've seen the people I work with, so this is fine. Absolutely fine. It's been a bit, right before everything kind of went horribly wrong, I was really busy. I was doing 2 different tours and I was shooting a movie. So when the pandemic happened, it was sort of like, oh, this is a nice rest and I've got to spend time with my family. And I'm not really a people person anyway, so it really worked out beautifully for me.
I did the same thing. I was very excited about it at first. Now I'm starting to actually miss people a little bit after 5 months.
A tiny bit.
Yeah.
The best thing about it has been a lot of, in my family, a lot of birthdays and holidays have fallen within this time. So it's meant I haven't had to cook for them. I try not to take pleasure in a pandemic, of course, especially since I'm in the vulnerable group.
Yeah.
But, there have been some positives to it.
Now, what was your go-to thing that you would cook for something like that?
Oh, everybody has food issues. So my wife is gluten-free. My daughter's pescatarian. We have a couple of vegans in the group. So I try to find a base. And that's where the cocaine really comes in.
That sounds like chips and salsa to me. If it's pescatarian and gluten-free or whatever, that's about it. That's all you got left. Yeah.
Exactly, with a little layer of meat for the carnivores.
A few shots of salad dressing.
Fish tacos every now and then. Yeah. That's about it. Yeah.
So, as a professional improviser, have you ever gone to watch people that are just starting out, or have you ever spoken with young people that have just started into improvisation and watched them perform? Do you ever have to go do stuff like that?
Yeah, I've often worked with young people. I'm basically there to destroy their dreams because. They always say, hey, how do you get a show like Whose Line? And how do you get famous becoming an improviser? And I say, it's just pure luck. I mean, the fact that this show came along, I had nothing to do with it. It just, I was just there at the right place at the right time. And I thank God for it, but I can't promise it's going to happen again. So I always say, just do it. If you love doing it, do it.
Just to give people an idea of something, so just for the people that are listening, if they don't know this, Whose Line Is It Anyway premiered in 1988. It was a British television show and ran from 1988 to 1998, and you joined into that cast right around 1991, and that was like. It was like a huge, you know, it was like a massive hit, and it was like the first time on television we'd really had a show like that, like a theater sports kind of show.
Yeah, the producers, I just find it ironic that it took these two British guys to come up with a format, because I know people, when I was in theater sports in Vancouver, we were always trying to come up with a way to do it on television, and we just couldn't make it work, but somehow these guys did. And we had the 30th anniversary of the British Who's Line a couple of years ago, and we did 4 shows at Royal Albert Hall, which seemed so wrong in so many ways. I mean, it was incredibly cool, but I thought, how is this possible where we're sitting in front of thousands of people trying to hear the suggestions and making up crap?
Yeah. Now, how did the show make the jump from the UK to the US? Because I think that's when it sort of took off even more, in that, like, the British version, I think, was on cable here in the US, but then Drew Carey comes along and is like, let's do this on ABC, because he had the clout at the time with his show. Like, was he somebody that was involved in some way earlier on with that show? Because, like, he wasn't I mean, we know Drew from doing stand-up, of course, but he wasn't really in the improv scene. So how did that whole thing come together?
The British guys had always wanted to do an American version because they felt they could get rich. So, and the British version, as you mentioned, was big on cable. It was really big amongst college students and young people. So they felt that they had an audience. So I can't remember the first studio they went to, but the studio heads wanted a VJ to host it. And they wanted young, good-looking improvisers, which, come on.
They don't have anything to draw from.
Yeah. And thankfully, the producer, Dan Patterson, said, you know what, it works best with the ugly guys. And at that point, Ryan Stiles, who was a regular on the show, was also on the Drew Carey show. And Drew was a big fan of the British Who's Line, and Ryan mentioned, you know, they're trying to find a way to do it on American television. Why don't you meet them? So we did, and it was basically through Drew's say-so that we got the show on the air. Because I always imagine what the pitch would be to get it on American television. It would be, there's 4 guys you've never seen before who don't have a show at the beginning of the half hour, and then at the end there'll be something for you to watch.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we'll take 20 of those. So yeah, it was all due to Drew that he got on the air. Again, thank you, Drew Carey.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
Well, I mean, did you just to kind of go back to the original series? You know, did you get to spend any time with Clive Anderson on?
Yeah, we went out for it. He's an interesting guy. He is, you know, he's an ex barrister. His wife was the leading pediatric AIDS doctor in the UK.
Wow.
So it was like, yeah, it was, you know, smart people. And sometimes I felt, oh, let's just invite a monkey for some amusement at dinner. Because, as I say, incredibly intelligent, but also lovely people, very warm, very smart. So it was always nice to see. And the last couple of years, I've been doing the Edinburgh Festival with Clive and Mike McShane from the original show, and Josie Lawrence and Tony Slattery. So we all keep in touch.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, Tony Slattery and Stephen Frost. I mean, so many like crazy talented people involved in that.
Yeah,
it was interesting that came out, that whole show format, because until then, I think the only way that the improv scene sort of broke into mainstream was through doing sketch comedy. Because it seems like all the stuff geared here, especially in the U.S. at least, you know, all the Second Cities and the Groundlings and the UCBs were all about like, hey, we're going to teach you to do improv, and then you're going to use those improv skills to write pre-written sketches that you'll perform. Like, it was a weird sort of mix they did.
It seemed like it was a big breeding ground for stuff like Saturday Night Live, Mad TV.
It was always viewed as a stepping stone to the next thing, never the thing.
Yeah.
Until this show, you know.
Yeah. And then
Yeah, exactly. I was with Second City for years, and that's how we came up with shows. We would do an improv set, then find something that sort of tweaked our interest, and then build it into a sketch. Mm-hmm. And there, as you say, there was no real outlet for just pure improv. I mean, people like Jonathan Winters
Sure.
He was the only guy.
Yeah.
And then Robin Williams later were the only guys who would sort of throw that stuff sort of out there and gave it sort of people kind of knew what improv was from them, but not really. They just thought, they're just trying to fool around.
And like there were the Christopher Guest films, I guess, would be like
Sort of the pseudo improv.
Half improv. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great skill to have, whether you're a professional or just use it in your life. My wife and I actually decided, hey, why don't we use these improv rules in our real life? Because people always say, oh, it's so hard. It's not. It's just you have to do things you don't do in real life, like listen and say yes to people. That's it. And we decided to do that, and it's taken us to these great places and met great people and opened us up to these, experiences within reason. I mean, I'm not going to jump out of a plane or something, but I'll do something that is outside of my comfort zone.
I think it just sounds like your wife is just saying, Colin, will you take out the trash? Yes, and fine.
And I'll do the dishes.
And speaking of your wife, we did have a comment from one of our fans.
This sounds like the setup of an insult.
Natalie
It
Butts.
does. I'm ready for it.
Natalie Butts, that's her real
Yes.
name. She asked, when will Colin marry his true love, Ryan Stiles, and do a reality show of the two of them living together, or do a modern day odd couple television show? When we asked fans about you guys, about you, Ryan Stiles was like, every other question was like, when are you guys going to do another thing together? What else are you guys going to do together? What do you want to do together that the world doesn't know about yet?
Meanwhile, Greg Proops is crying somewhere.
God love Greg
Poor
Proops.
Brad Sherwood. He's
But you've been friends with him for a very long time. Can you help our audience to understand the depth of this friendship? How you guys first met? The whole bit.
Sure. When I first met Ryan, he was a stand-up, and the club he was at, theater sports started getting big in Vancouver, so the club decided, hey, maybe we should have a little improv troupe. So my best friend started this improv troupe with Ryan, and through my friend Jim, Ryan and I met, and it was like just one of those things where we just clicked immediately. We really liked each other on stage. It just, we seemed to know where the other was going. It was a very easy relationship. So we became really good friends. And then we moved down to LA within a year of each other. We were both destitute. So we would always spend time with our families, to spend time at each other's house, having barbecues or whatever it was we were barbecuing. It couldn't have been meat, but whatever it was, it was good.
chips and salsa.
And then my wife and I, we couldn't take it anymore. We thought, no, we're moving back to Canada. Ryan said, well, I'm going to try a little longer here. And then he got the Drew Carey show, 2 weeks after I left. Not that I'm saying that I was holding him back or anything, but apparently. And during that time, we were also doing the British Who's Line. So, we spent a lot of time together. But what I loved is he, for the longest time, didn't have a computer. And I don't think he even had a cell phone. So I actually I contacted his daughter through Facebook to say, hey, it's Uncle Colin. I'm trying to get a message to your dad. Can you get him to call me? It was the only way I could contact him. And
did he not have an answering machine?
Well, he also changed his phone number he got really paranoid and would change his phone number every couple of months. So, but what I love we would go years without talking to each other, and then we would see each other and it was like, I saw him yesterday. It's just one of the most relaxed relationships I ever had.
Yeah.
And he's been, incredibly important in my life. It was through him I got Who's Line. It was through him I met my wife.
Wow.
I think my first child is due to him. So,
oh my God.
Well, it sounds like you were not holding him back, but being off the grid might have held him back in LA. That might have been the trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Can't get a call back if you can't get a call.
Yeah,
that's very true.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Let's talk a little bit about the Drew Carey version of this show. So this show comes out and it is like a massive it's a massive hit, and it's suddenly in America. I mean, you did 219 episodes of this show. This is
of that version, yeah,
of that version of the show, right? That's an outrageous amount of television. Yeah. What was that like working on that show? Must have
what's the schedule for that? Because I mean, obviously a sitcom you're in the whole week or whatever, but a show like this, there's no script you have to work through. There's no read-throughs or whatever. So like, how does the shooting on this kind of thing work?
Is there rehearsals? How did that work?
It was 2 weekends. This has been the best gig anyone could ever have. We would show up like around 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
They would say, here are the games we're going to play. They had a list of like 26 games, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then we would go to the craft table, put on our clothes, do a show, and that was it. We would shoot Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for 2 weekends, and from that they could get 30 to 40 shows.
Wow.
Whoa, what? Are you serious?
Yeah, because each televised show was like maybe 4 games, and we would shoot like 24, so they could, if we had a good night, they could get 4 to 5 shows from that one taping.
Oh my God.
So, cheapest show on television.
Yeah.
I hope you're listening, producers.
Yeah.
Yeah, no wonder it's like, is the version with Aisha Tyler, is that still running
it's on
right
now.
now?
It was on last night.
I just watched it a couple days ago, and my God, is it funny. Oh
Yeah.
my God. I watched an older episode, but it
It holds up. It's sort of a timeless kind of show. Like you can watch an old one or you can watch a new one, and it's like the same thing. Like all the stuff just works.
I'm surprised you guys found the CW one, because I'm often getting, hey, you guys should bring back Who's Line. We've been back for 7 years. So
Yeah. Well, I think because the three of us all do stand up, and so like there's some relation to comedy, even though we don't do improv. Any of us, I don't think.
I mean, look, I am
In college, I experimented.
Did you really?
I really did. Yeah, I had a group called Some Crazy Garbage. Shout out to you guys.
Wow.
They're all still alive.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
We're very proud.
I had one of the. I'm a very bad improver.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
I really am.
Yes, and.
I'm very bad at it. And Colin, one time I was doing a play, a musical, and I had neglected to memorize any of my lines for the play. This is 100% true, and this is a full mounted like musical with 600 seats in the audience.
What musical was it?
It was called Strike Up the Band. Was the name of the musical. I was doing another show at the time, and I thought that I was off book, but then it was like the day before, and I still was not. I realized I was not, and like 'cause I
You
was just
looked at that
holding the
amazing
script.
title and were like, I can do this.
I was like, it's going to be fine. And so what I did is I took the script and I just ripped out all the pages, and then I put it on books and on like tables and stuff all over
You
the
tried
set.
to do the Brando.
I tried to do Brando. This is 100% real, Colin. And then what happened is I got up on stage and I was in the middle of the show and I forgot I did not have. I had glued a speech to a podium. Okay, and then it came time to do the speech and they didn't bring out the podium.
Lectern.
The lectern. Thank you. They didn't bring out the lectern I'm like, I can't do the speech. I can't give a speech if I don't have a lectern. And then they were, I need this thing. I gotta bring it out. And I'm doing this in front of an audience.
But you were calling out for a podium,
I was
and they're backstage with the lectern going,
Yeah.
well, that's not what we have.
Right. They finally bring it out. They bring it out. It is not the right one. It is another one, and the speech is not on it. So I had to make up a speech. And I said one of the things I said was, we are one and we shall overcome. And the audience was just like, what are you doing? And then I tried to sing the song and I couldn't remember any of the lyrics. It was one of the worst things I've ever done in my life. And the people who produced it. What's that?
Actors have nightmares about that.
Oh, yeah. It was a real life real life nightmare moment in my life. Yeah,
I saw
very,
a fire curtain drop down right behind an actress, nearly shattering her spine. That sounds much worse.
Oh yeah, being on stage for an entire show and not knowing any of your dialogue is, I mean, it was bad. It was real bad. So anyone who saw that production, I apologize. Hey, a quick thing I want to talk about, Mike Black. I think this is something that we really should talk about, and it's a company that was founded in 1983 in Tokyo, Japan. Of course, I'm talking about the Zoom Corporation.
Zoom.
Now, if it wasn't for Zoom, and Matt knows this, we would not be able to do our show. They make the best audio equipment in the world. Which one are we using right now?
We're recording onto a Zoom LiveTrack L8 right now, and when we go do our live events at conventions and stuff, we often use the Zoom H6, and they're both just fantastic pieces of equipment. You plug your microphones in, you plug your headphones in, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, whether you're a classically trained pianist or a run-and-gun filmmaker or a podcaster like us.
Yep.
Yeah.
I do a ton of podcasts, and I can tell by listening when they're using a Zoom and when they're not.
Yeah,
It's the mark of excellence.
It really is. Go check it. Go check out all their stuff over at zoom-na.com. That's zoom-na.com. Be professional, for God's sake. Zoom-na.com. All right. Okay, let's get back to the show. Have you ever been in a situation where you just can't get out of it? Have you ever had to perform where you're just like, this, I can't, I'm stuck? Does that ever happen to you?
Nah.
That's our soundbite for the show.
Yeah. There have been times. There have been times in the scene where you think, okay, maybe if I just go back and get some information that we had previously, I can find a way. And then at some point you think, no, we're just going to have to ride this until everyone is dead. There's no way out of it. And usually you can tell who your friends are not. They're the ones who leave the scene early. And the people who stay with you, those are your brothers in arms, and you go down together.
Now,
but yeah, it happens. It happens.
How old were you when you knew that you could do this? Because I imagine your first time trying improv was probably just like, hey, let me give this a try and see what happens. Or was it something where you're like, hey, I want to do this? I mean, like at some point you're going to discover you have an aptitude for it. But I imagine just like with us as stand-up, when anybody starts doing stand-up, they're terrible for a couple years. Mm-hmm. That's just how it is. So with improv, is it like that as well? Like when you were new, were you bad at this ever? Or were you just sort of like, hey, I'm a natural and I can do this right away?
I was lucky. I was a natural. My first... Because I didn't know what improv was. Nobody kind of knew until Theater Sports sort of blew up, and then it expanded into all the other groups. So when I first saw a demonstration of it before Theater Sports started in Vancouver, and I thought, that looks like fun. So I took a workshop, and from that workshop, they said, hey, you want to play in our rookie match tonight? And I went, yeah. And I played that, and then I got the most valuable player. So they said, hey, we're short a guy in the veteran league. Do you want to join? I went, yeah. And then I won MVP for that. So I thought, so this is easy. But yeah, there were valleys after that. But
of course, yeah.
I picked up the specifics of it fairly quickly, and I found quickly I was the audience representative. I was like the person who thought, oh, that guy shouldn't be up there. That's what I would be doing. And I build up a rapport with the audience.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. We got to talk about some of your brothers and sisters in arms that you've worked with. What can you tell us about Drew Carey? Any stories? Anything you could tell us?
Yes, I could tell you lots of things. I just want to think which ones could I tell you and still keep my friendship. First of all, let me just say, one of the most generous men out there, and that's how you want your millionaires.
Yeah.
He would take us on trips every year, the cast and crew of both his shows and their families, and he would take us, and for some reason he'd take his accountant who would always go, this is so expensive. And But he was incredible. He said, you guys are up there working, really, you're working your asses off, you're getting the laughs, and then afterwards people come up and say, hey, Drew, I love your show. So he just wanted to show his appreciation to everyone. And, I just can't say enough about him. Without him, the show would never have gotten on the air. And what I always find funny is it was a big hit its first season when they put us in on the summer schedule. Mm-hmm. And when no one else was on, it became a hit. Then they put us after Drew's show, which was a big hit. And then they found out how cheap it was. And then they put us up against Friends and Survivor.
Oh, wow. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. You guys remember those shows?
Yeah. I've heard of them.
So we would get killed every week in the ratings. But because the show was so cheap, it still made the network money. So it was always amazing to me that as many people knew the show as they did, because, as I say, we were up against two juggernauts in the 90s and still managed. And the reason the CW came back with the show is because these kids were seeing the old show on the internet. And then this groundswell sort of happened for the old show. So CW brought us back and yet still decided not to publicize us. But still, that's another story. But it all started with Drew.
Wow. That's so great.
We don't want to cheapen it with commercials for it or anything.
Yeah, come on.
Oh, God, no.
Preserve the artistry.
Exactly. Yeah. All right, what about Mr. Wayne Brady, our dear friend, Mr. Wayne Brady?
Yeah, he's got, talent, I guess.
He's got something.
You can, I just remember, I guess he had auditioned, and they had hired him, obviously, and I met him at our first, we would get together before the show started to try out new games. So I see this kid, I guess he was 22 at the time, and I just thought, oh my God, he can do everything. I don't think he should be on the show. It's not going to help some of the older people. But obviously, obviously a great talent and brought so much to the show and, just a joy to work with. He had a totally different energy from the rest of us, and it was something I think the show really needed. It really infused with this different energy that sometimes we would catch, depending on whether our hips were still working. He was. Wayne was a valuable addition to the show,
especially for the song battles.
Oh man, God!
Yeah, he's so good at that. And I've said this for years, as I've said, I've been campaigning for this for a while, and that I think Wayne Brady has the most pure talent in Hollywood, and he should be the host of the Oscars. I don't know why why haven't they not called Wayne Brady? He can sing, he can dance, he's funny, he could bring in Colin and Ryan and Jonathan and all these people to do bits and stuff. It would be a great time.
Great idea.
Come on.
Yeah, that's the thing that stopped them, that they could bring us on. No, it really does seem like a no-brainer. I was going to say, well, it's because he hasn't been in movies, but, Johnny Carson did it.
Yeah.
David Letterman did it.
I think maybe,
as you say,
is there a CBS ABC thing going on? Because he's got, the game show he does.
Yeah, we went and watched,
which is great. Let's make a deal.
We're friends with Jonathan Mangum, and he brought us over to come hang out for a day.
Which is sort of like watching an episode of Whose Line where people in the audience win prizes. It's the same kind of thing.
Yeah, they improv the whole way through that.
Yeah.
That show.
Wait, maybe that's what's next. Whose Line where the audience wins prizes?
There you go.
Oh God! Then they start publicizing it.
Yeah.
There we go. Come on. All right. What about what about Mr. Greg Proops? We gotta bring up the Proops.
Greg is what I love about Greg is, as I said before, I'm not really comfortable around people a lot. So when we would be on tour, sometimes we'd tour and we'd be on a bus, and it'd be like a 5-hour bus ride somewhere, and I would go, "Hey, Greg, how you doing?" Then I would just sit back and listen to him for 4 hours because he could talk about anything in the world.
Yeah.
He truly is the smartest man I know, and his the things that interest him is just all over the map. He has the largest book of knowledge in his head about baseball. He knows the batting average, I think, of everyone who's ever played. He interviewed many of the greats for different baseball magazines. He talks Willie Mays stories, and and then he'll just go about talk about the history of Turkey for a while. So he really is. And I know on the show, his persona is a little snarky at times, sarcastic, but he truly is, again, a lovely guy, a major spokesperson for the underdog. He's a feminist. He's just, a humanitarian who does stand up and can be snarky at times.
Do you recall, I was lucky enough to work with him in stand-up, and he told me a story that delighted me. Do you recall being on tour with him in Boston by chance?
Oh, God. What happened?
He asked the audience for an occupation, and someone in the crowd yelled out, "Cocksucker." And he said, "How interesting that you choose that as an occupation." And then someone else yelled out, "That's my ma."
You gotta love Boston.
Yeah. Shout out to Boston.
Shout out to Boston. That's a very Boston story.
Yeah.
It really is.
I got one for you. I was watching Whose Line the other day, and on the show, they did like a thing where they brought out this cast member from Dynasty, from the new TV show Dynasty, and then you guys had to like all do like a song or some sort of bit with her, and then she she runs in, she does the bit, and then she's out. And I know that that's kind of been a thing at CW or at some of these places where they're bringing in stars from other shows to promote them being on other TV shows or this or that. Has that ever not? Does that always go right? Does that always work out? Because it doesn't seem like that would be the case always.
I'm going to say no. I'm going to say no, it doesn't always. I do remember her. She was lovely. We're now Twitter pals. Some people have not, whether it's due to their own ego or whatever, but one of our guests in a previous show is responsible, I think, for one of the funniest things ever been on television. That's when Richard Simmons joined us.
Oh,
wow.
When we were doing the Drew show. And that, I think it was like a 5-minute sketch where we were using him and Wayne as props. And it's one of the, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend to go on YouTube and see it. I truly believe it's one of the funniest things that's ever been on, definitely on Whose Line, but I would put it up there in the top 100 of all-time funny things.
Oh, wow.
And it was all because of Little Richard.
Oh my God, that's so great.
Yeah.
That's so great. Oh, he's a fun character for sure.
Absolutely.
He was so committed.
Now,
and I'll leave you with this visual. I used him as a jet ski. And that's all I'm going to tell you.
Oh, I gotta watch that. Yeah, we gotta check that out.
Now, I have a question, because the three of us all do stand-up, and we have the luxury of, when we're off stage, of not having people expecting us to be doing our act when we're interacting with them. Like, we walk around and people are like, if they're like, "Oh, I saw you, oh, tell me a joke," and be like, "Oh, I'm not really into it," or you can tell them something funny or whatever, and but you get to live a normal life for the most part. But you being an improviser and having people see you on TV and expecting that from you, like, do you just, when you, pre-COVID, when you would walk around and go into a store, do people just expect you to always be funny at all times? Like, is that like a thing that goes on with you?
Yeah. Part of it is we're on television and we're not playing characters. We're playing weird versions of ourselves. Yeah. So I think people assume, oh, that's what they're like. And
they just lucked into finding four crazy guys.
Yeah. We're all happily married. So obviously those people on, my wife calls the guy on Whose Line the other, because it is so unlike me in real life. And it's something I don't think anyone could live with, someone who was on like that all the time. Nice. And also people seem still a little confused about improv. They go, tell me a joke. And it's like, well, do you see what I do? Have you ever heard me tell a joke? It's not what I do. There are comedians who work very hard on getting the right word. We just make up crap and hope it lands. So yeah, I think I disappoint a lot of people because as I say, I do tend to be quieter. So they're going, "Oh, why isn't he like walking like a dinosaur?"
Yeah, that's got to be a little tricky. I can imagine, especially like, when you've been doing this for so long, people are just like, well, you got to have a character or something that you do. And you're like, oh, come on. That's not how this works.
No. Yeah. Just look at my stuff. I don't do characters. I don't do jokes. I really is a wonder I've gotten this far. I don't have all those skills.
It really is like a fascinating thing when you look at places like UCB, where it's like every 3 months they're turning out another class of improvisers. Like I've been to some of those showcases. That shit is rough.
Some of those are brutal.
I mean, that is some difficult. I went one time, very quick story, but I had a roommate who his name was Doug Beatty, and he hated living with me. Okay,
I can't blame him.
Oh, yeah, I don't blame him at all.
I can't imagine why.
Very messy, and I'd play video games all day, and he'd go to work, he'd come home, and I'd be in my underwear, eating pizza, just like the worst. I learned a couple of good things from him though. One
Shower.
time, yeah. Well, I made pasta. I wanted to make pasta with pesto, and I used the entire jar of pesto to make one batch of pasta because I didn't know that you're supposed to only use like a teaspoon of it, and I did that like 3 days in like three different times in like a week, and he was like, "Steven, are you using the entire jar?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm making pesto pasta." He was like, "Steven, you're gonna weigh 5,000 pounds. Like this is so fattening. You're doing it wrong." And he taught me the right things. But then he started a improv classes over at the UCB, and we ended up, I moved out, right? But I wanted to support him and be supportive, and so I surprised him. And Matt knows this. I showed up at UCB to watch his like final class performance.
It was like improv and sketch, right?
And it was improv and sketch, and he did like some taking suggestions improvs, and then it came time for sketches, and his sketch was about him and his fat roommate.
Oh no!
And I
King rises.
Yep, and I sat there in the audience and watched a fat guy on stage play me in a scene, and then afterwards had to be like, "Great job on the show," and he turned bright purple. He was ready to die. It was so embarrassing. Yeah,
And then you had to have a duel.
Yeah, it was not okay. Everything about it was wrong. But point being is that UCB is turning out, tons and tons of, improvisers, on the daily. They're turning out all these people, as well as like Groundlings and other
Improv Olympic and Second City and all that
kind of stuff. So for you to be able to do this as a job, for a living, to be able to improvise for a living for your whole life is extremely insane. It is the least plausible. You're like the Michael Jordan of
improv.
Of improv. You really are, man. Like it's an amazing thing, and it's incredible.
Stephen can't even improv his way through this compliment.
Yeah, I can't improv.
So it's very impressive.
I can't improvise my way through that compliment.
I mean, we are all incredibly fortunate that the show came along, showcased us, and it lasted as long as it did and gave us careers. Because, I mean, personally, I'd be screwed. I have I have nothing else to fall back on. Absolutely nothing. So the fact that this show came along, took advantage of the one skill I have and made it marketable for me, I will always be grateful for. So, I'm very fortunate, and I've been really lucky in working with a lot of great improv theaters around the world who are actually can make a good living. Things, of course, are going to be tough right now with people still trying to figure out how to get live audiences happening. But I've been very fortunate. I mean, I've been doing this for like 40 years. I've been all around the world. I've been in the White House, How's that? I make
my
up
God,
crap.
what?
That's
What did
my
you?
job.
Which White House and when?
Well, there's only the one.
No, I mean when? Which? Like who's
The one in
White House?
1600 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Who's White House? That's what I mean.
Yeah, it was the Bush White House. We had Brad and I had done the correspondence dinner, and part of it we did a rap with Karl Rove. Looking back, it's like, oh God. But so they invited us to the White House the next day. So we went, and it was cool. I mean,
Yep.
President Bush was not my favorite president, but he was incredibly charming and hospitable. He spent like a lot of time with us. I kept thinking, there must be stuff going on that you have to do. But this is insane. This is like 20 minutes now.
Then you
And
find
Dick
out
Cheney
that's
was
all
with-
he did all week was watch your show.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah.
Dick Cheney was in the corner, sort of rubbing his hands together, crouched over. It was weird.
Well, you're Canadian. It's not your fault. That's got to go on me and Mike Black that we let that happen.
Yeah.
You two Canadians can't be
Absolutely.
blamed for it.
Right.
Yeah.
You bet exactly. What we got to talk about Aisha Tyler too. What's she been like to work with? She's so lovely.
Yeah, she's all right. When we about to start the show, I thought, my God, okay, so with each of our hosts before, we had something we could easily make fun of. Clive was bald and no neck, and then Drew was Drew.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, so we have this beautiful, smart, a black woman who's a bit of a nerd. We're screwed. What are we going to do? And then we quickly found things.
Yeah.
We just sort of hit that, when funny people get together and just start insulting the ones they love. So we kind of fell into that sort of thing.
Yeah, she's great.
She's lovely. I worry in that she's a bit of a workaholic. She's always got, like, we're in a pandemic and we've been trying to do this charity thing, but she keeps saying, that's a bad day for me. It's a bad day for you? What are you doing? But she's like directing somehow. She's like she's always writing books, and she's an amazing woman, just amazing.
Yeah, I met her before I ever did stand-up at the Playboy Mansion. It was right before she started on Talk Soup. And I was at the Howard Stern live broadcast. I got in because I was doing some stuff on radio. And I was able to go to that. And I met her there, and she was the nicest person at the entire party. Just like lovely. And then I came to see her do stand-up at the Hollywood Improv like a couple weeks later. I was like, oh, she's really funny too. And then it's just been fun to watch somebody who was really nice to me when I was a complete nobody, even more of a nobody than I am now, as hard as it is to imagine. And she was totally nice to me and got me hooked up with free tickets to the Improv to come see her do stand-up and stuff. So I've always been a big fan of hers, and I think she's great.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate in all the incarnations. We've never had anyone who was a dick, which is
amazing.
It's amazing, really. I have to say, in the world of improv, I haven't found too many at all. And even stand-ups who have a reputation sometimes, and you guys may know this more than I do, of being dickish. But I've always found, and there's nothing I love more than just sitting in a room of stand-ups and just hearing their war stories. I just love that kind of stuff. Everyone trying to top each other with the worst gig they ever had, or the worst audience member. I love that.
Hey, real quick before we continue the show, I want to talk about a third-generation, family-run business that I am very proud to be working with. Sennheiser is the top-tier microphone company in the world, and we are so lucky that we are now recording our show using Sennheiser microphones and their headphones. It's awesome.
We're talking into Sennheiser MD42 microphones and using Sennheiser HD25 headphones, and these sound amazing.
I mean, listen to Mike Black's voice.
Listen to the rich and sumptuous soundscape that comes out of my voice every time I speak into a Sennheiser.
Absolutely. Go check out their microphones and their sound equipment over at Sennheiser.com. All right, let's get back to the show. What is the worst gig you've ever had? Do you have anything that stands out?
I do, but I don't have details. It was Ryan, Brad, and I were doing a gig at the Laugh Factory, and I think it was I think the audience was all improvisers.
Oh no!
Okay.
So, and really, there really isn't a worse audience for an improvised set than other improvisers. So, Brad, Ryan, and I think we were everybody was given like 15 minutes. So we start. It's not going well. So we're trying different things. It's still not going well. So we decide to keep going till we get a laugh that we can end on. We went 45 minutes.
Oh my God.
Then the lights just slowly, one of those slowly came down.
Oh no!
Oh wow.
We, the three of us left the theater. We didn't talk. We went to our cars, and we didn't contact each other for 2 weeks.
Oh my God.
It was just horrific.
That is the equivalent of a mercy killing when the theater starts raising the lights on you. Oh man.
Oh, and it's like, don't do the slow fade.
Just cut it.
Just bring the lights.
Just cut the mic. Rip the Band-Aid off. Just do it. Yeah.
Yeah, because as the lights went down, we started to get louder, thinking, "Oh, maybe this is where our laugh will come."
Oh
no.
God!
No.
Wow. Yeah, because I would imagine for you, like an audience full of improvisers, like they're all thinking in their head, like, I could be that. I'm at least as good as them. Like they all sort of have that thing going on there, probably.
It's like doing stand-up at an open mic.
Yeah, it's like nobody laughs at anything.
Everyone's head is buried in their notebook, and occasionally you get on a good premise, and you see them start writing it down, and it's like, oh, shit.
Oh no!
Not only are they not laughing, they're stealing my ideas.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean we nighttime show our this podcast. We normally do this show live in front of an audience, and there's a lot of silliness and a lot of playing around with our guests and things like this that we do on stage. But the worst. The worst moment in our entire show history was Andy Dick came on stage.
Okay,
that's pretty much it. We can stop
right
right
stop there. He had fallen off the wagon
that night.
Yeah. He brought Dino Stamatopoulos with him on stage. I had baked him a cake that was the shape of his face.
For his birthday.
Because that was his birthday that night.
He was triggered by that.
Yep, and then he took the cake and flung it at a woman in the front row and hit her right in the face and ruined her outfit, and I had to pay the dry cleaning bill for that. But it was a very hard cake, and then he cried while holding his own cake face that was shattered.
So you're eating pieces of it.
And we had wire image there.
It's very metaphorical.
We had professional photographer shooting that night. All those photos of Andy Dick holding that cake, those are on the Wire Image website forever. Like, we can't take them down. They will never leave.
No.
Just Andy Dick crying with his own face, drunk on stage at the Improv. Yeah, the worst.
oh, I love it.
Yeah, he's a nightmare. He's a nightmare. Before we let you go, I just wanted to ask you this, just because your career is so amazing, and you've worked, in a ton of TV and film and all sorts of stuff popping up in all sorts of cool different shows. Is there something that you haven't done yet that you would like the chance to do?
I've been really lucky. Like last year, I wasn't the title character, but I did a production of King Lear with some of the top Shakespearean actors in the world, and it was great. So I thought, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. Here's the thing I've always wanted to do, and no one's taken me up on it. I wanted to do an action movie where I'm the star, because my thing with a lot of action movies, you think, well, obviously they're going to make it to the end.
Yeah.
But with me, you wouldn't be sure. There'd be that tension of, he might not even make it halfway through the movie.
This could be a quick movie.
Yeah. Maybe I'll have to write it, but I just hate writing. But I hope somebody will pick up on that and say, yeah, a 62-year-old guy with bad knees as an action star? Come on, it writes itself.
I love it. I love it.
They're still making Steven Seagal movies. They're already doing that. So let's do it.
Maybe it's a buddy film, him and Steven Seagal.
There you go. Two 62-year-olds with bad knees.
I love that idea. I love that. Whose bomb is it anyways?
Yeah.
You could call it that.
There you go. Okay. Okay.
No, go ahead. Go
Do I
ahead.
have to copyright that?
Yes, you take that, please. Do you have social media? Do you do any of that type of stuff?
Yeah.
On Instagram. We wanted to make sure that we got you on here. So if you're a fan of Colin Mochrie, you can go and find him on Instagram. It's Colin Mochrie 7591 is the official Instagram for.
What's the reason for 7591?
It's my birthday backwards.
Oh.
Hey. Okay.
Well, there we go.
That's good. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, and you're on Cameo? Are you on Cameo now?
I'm on Cameo.
How have you liked that? What's that been like for you?
During a pandemic where I'm not working, it's been great. There have been some odd requests. I think I fired someone. I think it was a joke, but I'm not really sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and helped someone break up with someone. So
Wow.
those ones aren't, I'd rather do just the birthdays and happy anniversary rather than, listen, Jerry had something he was too afraid to tell you, so I'm going to do a little hoedown that explains everything.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That sounds almost like its own service that would be great. Just comedians breaking bad news to people.
Yeah, that's the way to go. We should just do that.
To the Writers Guild.
Yeah, do that.
Exactly. Mike Black, where can people find you on the internet?
I am all over social media at Mike Black Attack, and I also do another podcast called The Power Pals, and we have new episodes coming out this week.
Hey, nice. What about plugging a different show? Thanks, Mike Black.
Anytime.
Matt, where can people find you?
There are links to everything at funnymatt.com, or if you were upset by me in any way, please let me know at mattwalkersucks.com.
That's our real website. So feel free to go there. You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN, Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Please subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast and share with your friends. Colin Mochrie, you are a legend, sir. You're the Michael Jordan of improv. Thank you so much.
And yet, where's my 8-part series on HBO? Come on.
We'll see in the future, hopefully. Thanks again for doing the show,
Thanks for
man.
having me on, guys.
Thank
you're
you.
the coolest.
Thank you.
Thanks. It was a lot of fun.
All right. Have a good one, man. We'll be in touch soon.
All right. Take care.